Now,
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan, and welcome to this edition of the RCB Radio Sports Show, live at 92.5 and 94.8 FM, and online at www.rcb.ie. This month's documentary is all about the icons of sports entertainment. We've been delighted so far to speak to Carlos Colon Jr. You might remember him as Carlito in the WWE. Yesterday, we spoke to the one and only PJ Palaco, who played the role of Just Incredible. And now we have a true really icon of sports entertainment, the one and only Double J, Jeff Jarrett himself. Jeff, an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. And Jeff, I'll just touch off base. Have you been in Ireland in the past, Jeff? And have you got to wrestle in the Emerald Isle?
Many times, yes. I've been there with back in the day with the WWF/WWE, TNA. I've wrestled there many times. You should have been there as a young lad in attendance, and maybe you could have got a guitar shot.
Get a guitar shot, Jeff. I remember speaking to Carlos, and he's a very sort of similar sort of background to you, where he grew up in the family sort of business. His father was a great wrestler and a promotion sort of company in Puerto Rico as well. You grew up with your father, Jerry, was heavily involved in the wrestling business. You're a third generation wrestler yourself. Was that always on the cards for you growing up? Because I remember hearing somewhere that Jeff Jarrett was a very talented basketball player as a child, and it's something that he could have progressed on.
I played college basketball, but that was about the extent, Tim, of my career. But look, I grew up, obviously I played all kinds of sports as a kid, but I love wrestling and going to the shows with my grandmother, my dad's mother. She didn't wrestle, but she promoted and did just about everything except wrestle. But going to her with shows, I saw the stuff that happened outside the ring, the marketing, the promotion, the concession stand, the merchandise, just everything that goes with it. Radio interviews as a young kid, going to small radio stations, they'll promote, and being with an athletic background, and my father wrestled. I always wanted to do it. I just didn't know when I was going to get into it, but I've always been fascinated by, like I said, not only what goes inside the ring, but also outside as well.
And I suppose, Jeff, one thing that people don't know about Jeff Jarrett is that Jeff Jarrett started off his career as a referee in terms of his introduction to wrestling in his sort of father's business. And what was that like? Did he give you a real insight in terms of the sport, in terms of how it was choreographed, being up and close with really talented wrestlers at the time and seeing them learn their craft? And is there a special knack or a special expertise that goes with being a professional wrestling referee as well?
Well, a professional wrestler, when I was taught this at a very early age, go try to have, and a lot of times the referee's the lowest paid member of the event, and the person who sets up the ring may be the next lowest paid person. But go try to have an event without a wrestling ring or a referee. It doesn't happen. So they're very important, but they're unassuming. But one thing that I was taught as well, when I got the opportunity to referee, being inside the ring and that close to it, and knowing how there's a timing and a cadence and positioning in the ring and moving around the ring and hearing the wrestlers talk in the ring, but quote unquote under their breath, where the audience couldn't hear it, but just sort of knowing how things are done. It was such an eye-opener. And also when I stepped into the ring for my first match, I'd obviously already been in a wrestling ring and heard the people cheer or boo or whatever it may be. So it gives you a bit of, I would always challenge folks that if you have the opportunity to ref before you wrestle, it can go a long way, because you can understand a lot more of your surroundings and know what's going on. So to me, I was lucky. Those days of being a referee were invaluable to just a comfort level.
And I suppose, Jeff, we could spend all day talking about some of your iconic wrestling matches, and it would take up a full hour if we were to do so. But I just want to speak about the actual honing your craft in terms of getting the character and the gimmick, and in terms of that acting, try to persona, the sort of double J, and the sort of creativity that goes beyond that. You've been a wrestling promoter, you've been a GM, you've seen that in times of developing wrestler sort of character. How crucial is that? Does it take several attempts really to find that perfect character? Because we all remember Stone Cold, he had one or two attempts with Stunning Steve Austin and other characters before he hit on that gimmick Stone Cold Steve Austin. And is that some wrestlers might be trying all their career and they mightn't find that gimmick, and for some people it can just happen straight off the bat. And how was that experience for you, finding that double J type character?
I think all talent go through their own individual journey. You think about, Mean Mark Calloway to The Undertaker, or Rocky Maivia to The Rock. You just referenced Stunning Steve to Stone Cold. I was a good guy, a babyface for the first 7 years of my career, and then became a heel. And it was Double J, Jeff Jarrett, from country music. And that was a true love of, to this day, I'm a country music fan. But, the evolution, and then, we'll call it the Slapnuts era, and then the King of the Mountain, and the Founder, and just navigating your way through. When I look back from a historical perspective, the people that are the most successful are the ones that really play an extension of their personality. It's just amplified. And so everybody has to find their own way. And how do you feel as a 20-year-old athlete definitely changes when you get into your 30s or even into your 40s. You just have a different mindset. So there's a sense of being authentic with who and what your persona is, definitely translates in our business.
And I suppose, Jeff, just in terms of obviously your weapon of choice was the guitar, but just in terms of choreography, when you're choreographing a match, say, for example, and you're against Lex Luger, who's a type of a sort of a power sort of wrestler, to say, for an example, where you're trying to choreograph a match where you're up against a Rey Mysterio, a high flyer. How does that sort of differ for you in terms of trying to sell that one-on-one wrestling match to the audience? Do you find it more easy for you, for your style, to work with the Lex Lugers, or do you like being challenged and the high flyers and the lucha libres like the Rey Mysterio, those type of matches as well? Or is that something you develop over a period of time to work with any sort of wrestler, depending on what his strengths and weaknesses are?
I was taught, Jim, at literally day one, learn to have a match with anyone, with any style. So whether it was a brawling match or a power match or a mat wrestling, or even, a lucha style. I went to Mexico often for the last 20 years of my career, became world champion down there. So you had to learn to, wrestle the lucha style. So being adaptable is something that I think contributes to longevity in the industry, but also it also has a sense of, if you can have matches with different styles, you become a more and more valuable asset, because you can have so many different avenues to go down in character and storyline developments.
I suppose, Jeff, I just want to bring you on to TNA there. Obviously, you were one of the founders yourself and your father of that business. Just in terms of running a massive multi-million organization like TNA, in terms of scouting talent and hiring talent, and maybe renewing contracts, and maybe saying yes to someone and saying no to someone. In the first sort of years, do you think having your father's experience and maybe able to lean on that sort of helped you? Or in terms of, obviously, you're going up against WWE oftentimes for talent and trying to get talent that might have dropped out. Was that a real eye-opener for you, and in terms of the business? And was it something you really enjoyed, trying to put your rosters together?
When you develop a roster, you sort of have to look at it from almost like any sporting team that has veterans and some primetime players and some real superstars, and then, some role players, and then some rookies. Where if you cast a Hollywood movie, you got to have your leading actor or actress and best supporting actress, and then scene stealers or people who have a cameo, and then you have to have, your crew and extras and everything that goes with it. And we're a hybrid. We're not all true sport, obviously, and it's not just entertainment. It's a little hybrid. So when you put together a roster, you sort of have to look at it from that perspective, and you always have to always have to be continuing. Who's the next star we're bringing up? Who are we developing? At what stage? What veteran are we going to bring back? It's always lots of moving parts. I've always enjoyed that component of the business, but it's a never-ending job.
I suppose, Jeff, you're dealing with so many personalities there and people who've maybe multiple world champions in sort of different sort of companies. And is it sometimes hard maybe to tell them, like, we're ending your title run, we want to give this up and comer a sort of title, sort of in terms of he's shot now? Is it very hard to deal with some people that have been in the business that are expected, because they're such a big name, to expect that title run to go on longer and stuff like that? And in terms of personalities, sometimes is it harder when you're dealing as a GM with probably close friends that you might have wrestled in the past against?
Look, it's what the industry is. It's such a unique industry that, when you show up to an event, and if you're in a position of management, half the talent is losing, half is winning. Some talent doesn't like to lose. Some talent doesn't like to win. It's always a mixed bag. But it is a discussion. And as time's gone on, and the more seasoned that a talent is, and the more years they have under their belt, they understand that we're telling stories, and it's always an ebb and flow conversation.
And Jeff, what does it mean to Jeff Jarrett to be in the Hall of Fame in terms of two companies, in your own company, TNA, and the WWE as well, in terms of when you look at characters like Andre the Giant and people from all different sorts of generations, Freddie Biassi, and characters of that sort, to have your name in the same sort of sentence as them, and it'll be there forever? Is that a greater honor than any sort of belt that you would have received in your entire career, to be in those two Hall of Fames?
Well, it's sort of just the, and I'm very grateful. I am incredibly blessed, but working your way up in the business, the first time you become a champion is special, and the first time you become world heavyweight champion is special, and intercontinental champion or U.S. title or whatever it may be, as along the lines. And then if you've been fortunate enough to be successful over the years, the Hall of Fame is something that in a lot of ways puts a bow on your career. And I'm incredibly grateful to be in those Hall of Fames, and thankful. And look, it's something that I am very fortunate to, after 35 years, still in relatively good physical health, and still enjoy this business more today than I ever have, whether it's promoting or marketing or being on, panelist shows or talking with you about my podcast, which is, the next evolution of my career. I'm very fortunate, but the Hall of Fame induction, especially in New Orleans that night, 2018, April 6th, it was special. 32 years to the day of my first match to stepping into the WWE Hall of Fame.
And Jeff, the penultimate question for you now, the second last question. I was just going to touch on future projects, and you mentioned your podcast there. Can you tell maybe all our listeners and our radio fans here in Ireland about your sort of podcast, and maybe sort of what's in the line for Jeff Jarrett in terms of future projects for the remainder of the year and next year?
Sure. My World, we launched, we just dropped episode 8, me and Conrad Thompson, anywhere you can subscribe. We launched a website when we launched the pop set. So you can go to realjeffjarrett.com. It's realjeffjarrett.com. And that's all my social: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at realjeffjarrett. But we launched the podcast. We're covering all kinds of subjects. We covered, on one of the first episodes, the WWA tours of 2001, and we visited Ireland and the United Kingdom. So, there's going to be a lot of episodes that cover my international travels, obviously my WWF and WCW and WWE and TNA and AAA in Mexico and all points in between. So we're excited about it. There in Ireland, I know we're at the very top of the charts, and I'm grateful for all the listeners there. So keep on keeping on listening. And lots of, I'm excited about 2021 in so many ways. I'll be sharing more details in the weeks and months to come.
Jeff, last question to you now, and just before I say that last question to you, I was speaking to PJ Palaco, and I was speaking to Scott Levy, Raven, and they all just want to say, just wishing you the best in terms of seeing you again. They said they're great things to say about you, Jeff. But I just wanted to say to you, Jeff, in terms of all your fans in Ireland and people that have followed you for more than 30 years now at this stage, what would you like to say to people that maybe have come out and seen you in WrestleManias in the United States, or travelled from Ireland to your shows in TNA out in Georgia, and maybe travelled to international events to follow you and your brand, or to follow you and your wrestling? What would you like to say to your Irish fans?
I tell you one thing here. I appreciate you, Jim, asking me that question, because I would love nothing more than to see you soon. We are in negotiations and in discussions as the pandemic we're getting further and further away from it, to come do a live event of the My World podcast live in Ireland. And that would be fantastic. Our Irish fans have been great over the years, and obviously Boston and New York, and strong Irish folks with the background. But Irish fans always they're rowdy. They'll come tell you, and they love to tell stories. And so when you see me, come tell me a good Irish story. I've spent several nights in Dublin, and oh boy, Jim, there's some stories we can and can't tell, but I've always enjoyed my time there. I'll say that.
Jeff, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Ireland, and hopefully, please God, Jeff, we can share a pint of Guinness together the next time you come and share some of those stories in person. But for the moment, Jeff Jarrett, an absolute pleasure talking to us in this month's Icons of Sports Entertainment. Thanks for enlightening us about our podcast. Do check it out. No doubt it'll be a smash hit, #1 in the charts, as we said. Here in Ireland. Jeff Jarrett, a true icon of the wrestling industry in the 90s and the 2000s, and still going strong into 2020 and beyond. Jeff Jarrett, take care and God bless.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.